I'm just about to start my painting hangout. I'm Jazion, and it's nice to have you here with us this evening. Where today I will be painting what I started working on last week, which is this cute little dog. And I say cute, but he's really only cute if you're a dungeon master, and you're gonna unleash him here. So after last week's stream, we spent a bit of time. Can you not hear me? Is this better? Can you hear me now? Hi, Carl. Alright, cool. Yeah, because I'm testing out some music for the first time, and it can be a bit loud in the background. I think there's like some double sauce or something there. But hi, thanks for coming by this evening. Aww, no, my voice is not lovely, thank you very much, but thanks anyway. Anyway, I was just saying that I'm here to paint this cute T-Rex. But it's only cute if you're a dungeon master, not so much if you're part of a party that has to run away from it. But after last week, we did a little bit of changes. We added more lighting to painting stream, so you can just see this full, glorious, unlife, I suppose. And either way, I'm just gonna get started painting him and casually chat in the meantime. It's nice, a relaxing Saturday evening. The sound of birds in the background from our lovely neighbor who brings them out to sun over the weekend. So this was the paint that I was using to paint it since the last time out. And it's bog moss. I'll be taking some of the bog moss and putting that into the miniature. But first, the palette. Either way, hi Carl. So, what are you doing this evening? Other than watching the stream? Rotting your life away. So have you become an undead cow yet? And eating all the random food. What do you have for dinner? I had received a new follow, NerdGirl1501. Thank you, NerdGirl. And if you're live right now, hey, thanks for dropping by. I see some new people watching us on stream. Wait, you don't recall what you just had for dinner? How is this possible? I recall what I had for dinner. That's because I just had dinner. Okay, I see if it's healthy food, it's best forgotten. Especially if it's the kind that doesn't taste so good. So, it's been a while since I had, chili, so I had some food from Botak Jones, which actually opened up, like, quite a bit back near the office, but had some crazy queues. So I finally did a delivery order from them, and it was really good. I love chili. Chili's the best. So it looks super bright and saturated right now. And that's the part where you normally go, oh crap, it's not gonna look good. But I assure you, it will look better. I'm not gonna say it's gonna look good, but it will look much better once it dries. There goes the weight. I mean, I like to say that quarantine weight has done wonders. for sending gym memberships. And I should really go and work out more. But also the laziness. You know what? That's actually really true. Because earlier on when I was 3D printing things, I had some 3D printings that got stuck onto the build plate. And because it got stuck to the build plate, I had to spend quite a lot of effort to try and pry it off. And like by the end of it, I was actually sweating. I'm not sure what that says about my fitness, but it's probably not something good. And yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna be cleaning out all the miniatures and all the boxes and stuff I have, that's gonna be a lot of squatting, right? So it might actually be a really good workout. We should get Crimson to join in too. I have 5 strength. That low? Come on, at least like 6. Maybe 7. That's a good question. I would like to say that my constitution is not terrible. It's not good, but not terrible, because I try and make the effort to rest enough that I don't make my con saves to disadvantage. Because that would be stupid. Cough, cough. Cough, cough. One thing I don't like so much is that when I first printed this miniature, it wasn't super well done. So you can kind of tell that it's a bit of a light line here, because that's where I have to fill in the gap with Miniboot. So if you see it from the side, you can kind of tell it's an obvious line there. And on some of the later miniatures, I fixed that, so there won't be an obvious join line, but on this one, it looks like he had some surgery. Oil painting? Not today actually, not right now. But this is actually a technique that works really well for oil painting. Or like, oil washing. So what I would do for a bigger miniature like this, if I was working in oil paint, is that instead of going with a grey, I would take a really bright white and just highlight everything until it's super bright. Like this yellow, it has this bright. And after that, I'll be taking like maybe a brown or a black, and then doing some oil washes to tone it down. I'm not sure. I might actually use some oil painting methods on this to finish up the miniature, but right now I'm just putting on some color. Trying to get that bright, sickening yellowish green down. And I think it's doing a good job of showing that on camera right now. And like personally, this is not a color I would pick, because I don't really like green that much, and I don't like yellow. I hate the color yellow. It's my least favorite color in existence. But I think I want to try going out my comfort zone this miniature. And every single time I paint, I am trying to use colors or paints that I don't use as often. Because that's the best way for me to actually get through my collection of miniature paints. Also, for like the first time today, we are trying out having some music in the background from Pretzel. And so far, it's pretty good. Quite chill. If you guys like the music, let me know. Or if you hate it, let me know too. In fact, let me know if you hate it. How many minutes to go for? What do you mean? My backlog. Well, do we really want to talk about that? Cause like, it's not a backlog, right? It's not a pile of shame. It is a hoard of. It's a hoard of opportunity, right? That has yet to be. And let's not mention the fact that I have a few thousand miniatures to paint. And I don't even play war games. And believe me, it gets worse when you have a 3D printer. I am printing miniatures faster than I can paint them. Right. Because you go, hey, you know, I love this miniature. Oh, wow, this sculpt is amazing. I need that in my collection. And then you buy it and you realize that you had 2 already. That's just my life, man. Like for a while, I had a whole spreadsheet with all the miniatures that I had bought and wanted to paint, and it was really well done. It had all the serial numbers, which company it came from, and I think by the time I hit a few hundred, I just gave up updating that spreadsheet. Okay, this is where I'm putting like paint on super thick, and it's pooling, and it's getting very wet, but what I'm doing is that I'm quickly taking that paint and just spreading it out over the rest of the mini. And you should only really do this on minis that have a large flat surface, so you can take that paint and spread it out before it starts drying. I don't recommend doing this on a mini that you really care about getting a nice even coat. Because this will cause bubbles in your paint as well, and that's not something that you really want. You don't want bubbles in your paint, only your wine. And your drinks. Oh, what tips would I give for noobs that want to start painting? Oh, there are so many. Like, so many. I think that if I wanted to, like, combine all of them into one class, it would take a few hours. But I think my advice would be buy a paint set to start with and have the primary colors in there. And don't buy one that has a lot of colors just because you're scared of mixing colors. Because it's a lot easier to learn how to paint with less colors and mix them up than buying a paint brand because it's cheap and has a lot of colors. But the problem is that you end up with paints that either, you know, separates horribly or just isn't really useful at all levels of the skill. And I recommend that you buy actual miniature paint. Do not buy craft paint. And that's not because craft paint is impossible to work with. Like, not at all, but when you're new to the hobby, having paint that fights you when you're learning how to paint can make the painting process really frustrating. Like, don't buy paints just because they're cheap, right? Because I do know lots of people that start miniature painting and they buy like the 50-cent paints from Walmart. And you know what? I've seen people get some amazing things with that. It's just that it takes a lot more effort than it would if I bought like a paint set from anywhere else. Like, try and buy a set of paints that are a bit more matte as well. Because if you buy paints that are too glossy, and that's what a lot of these craft paints are, they become very glossy, very satin. They reflect the light back at your eyes, so it's very hard to tell whether or not the color you're putting down is correct. So you'll notice that as miniature painters that are a bit more serious, when they buy their paints, they go for either more satin or more matte paints as compared to like glossy paints. And second, my advice would be to buy a decent brush. I'm not asking you to buy a crazy expensive brush, but just one nice brush is gonna last you forever if you take care of it. If you don't take care of it, then yeah, no. Like, this brush has been lasting me months and months of being treated horribly, and it's still reasonably sharp. Like, you can tell that the edge is a little flattened right now because I've been using it to apply paint. Like, don't buy products because you think it'll make you better at painting. It doesn't work that way. No matter what someone tells you. Like, it's better to get a set of paint that you can rely on, colors that you can use to paint almost everything, and then you start buying your specialty paints for like certain special effects. Like maybe you want some glossy blood effects, yeah, sure. Go ahead and buy your glazes, your technical paints. I don't recommend buying the Daiso paints. Please do not buy Daiso paints. Yeah, and that's also because like some of the cheaper paints that you see have very large pigments, and they don't have really good coverage. Hey, Sniders? How do I pronounce that? Sniper? Thanks for coming by. Oh, hey Luke. I'm glad you could join us. Welcome to our stream. In that case, we're going to be Luke, I am your mother. Yeah, thanks for coming by. Thanks for heeding the clarion call of moving from across the globe. And thank you, Carl, for asking your friends to come join us on stream. Like, I'm so happy that you guys are here to support us. Like, thank you so much. It's gonna make it like way easier to affiliate, and maybe even partner. And like more importantly, it's kind of nice to have company while I'm painting on stream. It forces me to actually focus on painting for once. If I'm painting alone, that's when I start opening Facebook. It's like, what time is it in the UK right now? Right now on the dyno, this is like, I spent about 1 hour last stream working on it, and I just spent like the last 20 minutes or so adding more colors to it. Ah, so it's just after lunch. It's a pretty good time to come by and chill. Great for post-lunch nap time. You miss the UK? I miss being able to travel. Just like getting out of the country for a while would be really, really, really nice. Well, Singapore is opening up travel to UK pretty soon, right? So you guys can come visit us as well. And come partake of our wonderful food. And see, it really looks like there's a lot of color on one side, and then I flip to the other side, and I'm like, oh, we still have a long way to go. So keep plugging away at that. The paint pushing never ends. Yeah, man. I think there's some Australian fans as well that would love to make their way over here just to hang out and eat all the food. Oh, is there an event on later? In the UK? Oh, speaking of which, I think I saw your post going up where one of your parts was used for, was it Snoop Dogg? For the Mandalorian costume? That was really cool. You guys deserve that. Like, please share it when it's out. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Like, you guys put in so much effort and so much work just getting the costume accurate and you know, it's quality machining as well. So I think I love it when people start to recognize you. Is it already out? Damn, okay. I need to go check it out. I'm slow. See. But yeah, the Christmas season is gonna be really crazy this year. Like, even for stuff on Etsy, like when we have our store, I expect that lots of people are going to be buying things, but at the same time, I don't think I'm gonna enjoy shipping. Oh, with a new follow, the Antarctica Arctic. Is that how it's meant to be pronounced? Thank you! Thanks for the follow, and thanks for dropping by. Where are you from? Not Antarctica, right? I know, right? And like, so the worst thing is that you've long shipped it out, but it's the postal service. And there's not much you can do about that. Like, I've spoken to some people when they had people mark them down at Etsy because of delivery issues, when it's really not their fault. Right, exactly that. And the worst thing about Etsy is that the bad reviews are so obvious. And if people don't wanna change their reviews, and there's not much you can do about that as well. Definitely. And the upside of having your own web store is that you can use PayPal, though you might not want to. I mean, the upside of Christmas stuff being on sale is that if you play D&D like we do, there's lots of good terrain that you can use. It's a great time to start buying pine trees for your tabletop terrain. You have no good horror deco? What? What? I don't believe that. I could just 3D print stuff for you, you know? Also, you might notice that when I paint, people get really worried about having the tip of the brush be super clean all the time, or they paint only the tip of the brush, and that's actually not what you do. most of the time when you're painting, and that's something that you will learn as you get better at painting, is that you actually end up using like the bottom part of the brush, so use the sides of the brush towards the tip. Definitely for a game. So this dinosaur is actually a zombie T-Rex that shows up in one of the D&D modules. It's called Tomb of Annihilation. And even though we've already completed that module, I kind of wanted a zombie T-Rex brand just to commemorate that. And for when we run actual games in our office, in our studio, where we have like full terrain and everything, I want a zombie T-Rex. You have not played D&D. Really? Okay, you know what? You need to come and try D&D out with us. Because we can run it online for you guys. Hey, Night Curve. Thanks for the follow. No, I'm really surprised you've never tried D&D before, because, you know, UK has a really, really strong D&D community. Okay, fine, we may not sleep. Actually, yeah, it's really true. We run like introductory games all the time, so if you think that you want to try D&D out, we're happy to run a game for you guys. I can understand that. Like, I don't design 3D models myself, but I spend a lot of time 3D printing, and the amount of time you spend just doing the supports and adjusting your model so that they come out right, it's a lot. It doesn't feel like a lot when you're in there, but after a while you're like, did I just spend like 2 hours placing tiny supports in a miniature? Yeah, yes I did. I sleep in perfectly human hours. My body clock is just 12 hours behind my actual time zone. And I will not be disrespected like that. Oh sweet, that'd be awesome. Are you gonna do it like fully machined in metal? Makes sense. I imagine that the stock could be super heavy in metal, but also really satisfying. A little bit of highlights on the bottom. So you're gonna notice that I'm actually not covering all of the dinosaur with the color. I'm really covering like the outer areas of it with this yellowish green. And that's alright because like that's just the highlights of the piece. I think a number one mistake that a lot of newbies make, especially if they're trying to paint by numbers and follow like some painting guide, is that they go, oh alright, I need to paint all of this one color, and then I cover up that color and spend forever painting layers and layers of the color on, and that's not actually true. Like in some cases, if you know that you already have your shadows and all that in, you don't have to worry about covering your shadows up and then washing them down. It makes no sense. Like what I did here is that I decided on my shadow color and I'm just painting straight after the highlights. And later on, I'm gonna take that my shadow color and paint that into the shadows again so that it looks a little bit more interesting. Painting by numbers, it's really useful if you're new to painting, I guess. But like one thing about me painting is it's also really artistic. and there's no one way for your model to look. So even though it's not too bad a way to learn, I think that it can be a little bit limiting. Yeah, Necromunda has some amazing models. It's just that the assembly is a pain. Like, I like this T-Rex because there's like, you know, this one big part and the tail. And there was a tiny piece here that I broke off because I slammed it into the glass. But there was a little arm here. And then this zombie face, this friend that's reaching out for you. It was another piece. That's all. I mean, that's also why people pay other people to assemble the miniatures for them. I can see why. Yeah, look, you have a few friends. A few fans as well here in Singapore of your work. Not surprising. You guys have made a name for yourselves. Okay, a bit of yellow on that done, I think. I'm gonna let this side dry and come back to that. The color has gone down a little bit more. You will also notice that the way I apply paint right now, I'm kind of like stippling, so I kind of like stabbing or tapping the brush, the side of the brush against the highlights, and that allows me more easily to hit the outer parts of the model, which tend to be more brightly colored. And because I'm tapping, I'm not just drawing like one straight line like this. When I tap, it allows me to create a bit of a texture for the parts I'm painting. And that works really well for this because it's an undead T-Rex, like its scale on skin starting to come apart. It's starting to disintegrate a little bit. So by having the extra texture in there, it makes it a bit more visually interesting. But honestly speaking, a lot of what I'm doing is I'm just figuring this out as I go. Because I'm not an amazing painter. And I think that's alright because even if you're not an amazing painter who has won all kinds of awards, I think you can still put out things that look okay for you and look fun. And that don't take a huge amount of time. Right. So we've seen how it looks like from the side. Roughly. And we've seen how it looks like from the other side as well. And right now you can tell that I need a little bit more color around this portion. It looks a bit washed out compared to the back part of it. Well, why can't you tip us? I think it's because we're not affiliate yet. Soon. But if you want to tip us on Ko-fi, then you really can. And we have the link in down below, which Crimson can link if he's not falling on steep. Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for the support as well. And don't forget to drop us a follow if you haven't yet. So, like, one of the reasons why the yellow on this, like the greenish yellow, looks so fluorescent, even though it isn't that fluorescent in real life, is because there's purple in the miniature as well. And purple is on the opposite end of the color wheel from yellow. So it tends to make it look really obvious when you have that color contrast, other than just the usual like value contrast, which is like from dark to light. Right, I think this looks pretty good. Let me add a little bit more around the face. So like, well, I don't have to care so much about parts like this, which are still not as important. You want to spend more time around the face of every miniature because that's where you want everyone's attention to be. So like, I'm not the fastest painter because I spend most of my time painting terrain, and terrain takes forever to paint. And like, for the longest time, I actually figured, I'm not that good at painter, I'm actually pretty terrible. And I spent all my time painting terrain until I came back to painting actual miniatures. And I was like, oh, wow, like, the techniques that I used to have a lot of trouble with, they're so much easier now. And I think it really just all comes down to practice. Like, when I'm painting, I know how much pressure my brushes apply. I know just how much water there is in my brush as well, so that it doesn't flood the surface unless I want it to flood the surface. And because I'm so much more confident now as a painter, when I'm painting, I know that if I make a mistake, I can just paint over it, or there's some way to fix it. Like back when I started out as a newbie painter, I would have the issue of putting some paint on and going, that doesn't look right, that looks terrible. And I actually wasted a lot of time because I felt that, my work wasn't looking right. But having had more experience now, as I'm painting, I can go, yeah, I don't think it looks really good right now, but that's alright, because when I go on to the next step, I can work on that and make it look awesome. And that's something I think we can call the gap. It's not as obvious when you're new, but it starts to show up more when you're starting to get better at painting or doing art, or any kind of creative thing where once you start being able to pick out your mistakes and comparing yourselves to people that are way better than you are, you start going, hey, why doesn't my miniature look the way I want it to look in my head? Like, the idea that I had it for it in my head is so different from the way it looks right now, and you kind of just give up on what you're working on. And I don't think I'm the only one that felt that way. It's a really common issue. And I guess that what I had to do at that point was to just work through the gap. And like, beyond just working through the gap, I had to learn techniques so that I could make what I wanted to see in my head still happens. You do not need to paint? Are you sure? If I recall, you have quite a few miniatures sitting here that require your attention, your loving attention. Okay, on the lower jaw of this dino. I just love how gruesome this mini is. It's such a great scout. It's like, after this is done, I'm gonna put it up as a picture in my store for people that want to know what it looks like when it's painted. And hopefully people like it. If you want to check out my store so far, you can check out the Etsy link below. Crimson can drop it in chat. There we go. If you're a fan of war games, or D&D, or miniatures in general, I think it's a pretty good place to start. So at this point, I don't have much paint left on my brush and it's starting to dry. So you notice that when I'm applying paint to like the legs of the dinosaur, it's more of a dry brushing technique than anything else. Kind of just be hitting the edges so that they stand out a bit. But I'm not going to spend too much time working on his feet because that's not going to be the focal point of the mini. They're just kind of really fun to paint because they have so much bone and figures to hit. It's like hit a little bit of contrast. It was good. It's a little bit yellow under that bone. And I'm gonna put this top down. So from top down, it looks like we need to bring up the highlights along the center of his spine a bit more. And definitely, I think along this part, needs to get be a lot more interesting. Need some brighter colors in there. But I do like how his face looks. How many dead bodies? So there's one coming out his mouth. If you look really closely here, there's a face that's peeking out of his ribcage. And there are 2 dead zombies on his base. So it's actually an incredibly detailed model. I love it so much. You're not just painting him, but you're painting all his little zombie friends. And you know, he's striding over this tree trunk. Look at him. So I love models like this where there are so many small details that if you really want to spend the time on all of them, you can do so much. But right now, since we've mostly marked out all the spots where the scales are, I'm gonna go back and swap back to that dark reddish blood-like color and add in this bloody gashes. I think we missed a few the first time around, but there's no time at the present to add to that once I can find my paint. Finding my paint being the operative stuff. Oh, hello Cops Menace. Thanks for the follow. Say hi in chat. Oh no, where did my paints go? This is why I say having too many paints is a blessing and a curse. Nice, sanguine base. There we go. Drop it. Sanguine base. So this kind of like deep, saturated and dark color. Love this color. Hey Cops. So what brings you to our real stream? Just gonna take a little bit of this color. You can take a look at it. It's a bit dark right now, but it's such a it's not really obvious. Like when I was first buying paints as a beginner, I kept buying all these bright saturated colors. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Joey, and thanks for heeding the cow's call once more. The cow has many companions. They're all coming by to support the stream. It's awesome of you guys. Thank you. And they are beef. Well, I'll be very sad if they beef with me. You can have a beef with Crimson all you want, but I would be sad. Hello, Summer. Thanks for joining us as well. Actually, I've been thinking about getting into 3D modeling as well. But instead of doing it the traditional way with like ZBrush or Blender, I was considering getting an Oculus Rift and trying out Adobe Medium. I heard it's really good. And in fact, I think there were a couple of well-known 3D sculptors that sculpt their miniatures in Medium and then do edits in Blender or ZBrush after the fact. And like, I was thinking about it, and you know, it makes a lot more sense if you're not used to the traditional sculpting workflow. And like being able to move around your creations in VR sounds like something that would be so useful. Especially if doing anything that's organic or creepy. Spell effects, maybe. Like, no, I'm thinking that we should get Crimson to do a stream where he's sculpting in Adobe Medium. I think it'd be really fun to watch. For the rest of us, not so much for him, but for the rest of us. So many sets of 3D models, but space. Yeah, see, that's the nice thing about 3D models. They can stay in your digital storage until you have space for them. And like the worst part for me is that I'm getting a much bigger 3D printer soon. So I can print like this entire dinosaur in one print. Alright, hit it here first. Clinton will stream himself in VR if you get 250 subs. Someone screenshot that at least. Yeah, sub goals. You gotta start small, right? It wasn't 100 likes, it was 400 likes. And hi, Holy Punisher. And do you come over from the server? Or do you come over from like Crimson's Facebook? No, I think it was like, no, it was like probably like 200 or 400 likes. It wasn't 100. She said that 100 was too easy to hit. I mean, I think that we should get some of our artist friends to design the most skimpy outfit ever, and he can wear it. Absolutely, you know, the kind of like, I don't know, corset, uh, chest window, and like a red leather jacket, because that's his thing, right? Is it even Crimson is not trying to wear a red leather jacket? Artist friends take note. make this part a lot more. What's everyone up to at the moment, other than chatting with me on stream, which I'm very thankful for. Distractions are great that are on Facebook. You are distracted by dog food? That seems unfortunate. Disgusting. I love it. Speaking of absolutely disgusting, the other day I was painting up an outhouse, and basically my entire commentary when I was painting to everyone else that was like in the office was just like, this is disgusting. Oh god, it looks terrible. Absolutely disgusting. And you know what? I think it turned out pretty disgusting. Me grab it and show it to you guys. Okay, not this. I hope this looks good. In a disgusting way. Like that. Right. Outhouse. So I painted this in like 20 minutes. If it was an in-house, you wouldn't want whatever goes on inside in your house. I think this was a miniature from Grace Windale, who's a pretty good sculptor. So this was a lot of airbrush work. And a lot of it was me learning the airbrush as I went. So I quite like how it turned out. Like the green of the wood. And like, you know, you can tell like the wooden planks by the rooftop. It looks like it's wetted and worn. I think that if I had a little bit more time and I was like less pressed for time, I'll be weathering the little nails and making sure that, you know, they're not all so bright. You could do a bit of rust and have it like trailing down, I think. And also, the door can come out if I want it to. So it's really fun because I painted this and made it so that if you open the door, there's slightly nasty surprise on the inside. So it's disgusting. And it's not something that you want to see when you close the toilet door in front of you. Yeah. Oh god, that sounds disgusting. Do I want to know? I kind of want to know, but at the same time I don't. About the state of finished toilets. Yeah. Where's the side first? This little piece. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick break and get a drink. Stay hydrated, folks. Especially sitting in front of your computer. Do not forget to take a drink or stretch. Especially stretching. You should not sit at a computer until you stand up and you can make your own sound effect. Because that's when you know you're getting old. You want me to paint a Genshin model? Maybe. not impossible. In fact, I actually 3D printed a Genshin model for a friend's birthday. It was a Venti. This really cute chibi that someone was giving away of him, so I printed that for her and printed out like in a way chess piece. And it was super cute. I'm quite fond of that. So fond that I took no pictures at all. This is a common problem. But if I had to paint a Genshin character... Huh. I'll probably paint the Shogun. Raiden. You want to paint me to paint Ito or the cow? That's the difference. I actually do think that painting anime style can be pretty hard to get right because you need to paint so cleanly. And your lines have to be so fine and straight and smooth, like sharp. And that's not something that I'm really used to right now. Like even when I paint in the more cartoony style, it's not quite as black line and clean as a proper cell shaded anime style. Ito's cow is just brown. It's like when I paint in a slightly more cartoony style, it has stuff like this, which is another piece I'm working on right now. It was pretty awesome. Like, I think like one of these things about this style is that it shows up really well on camera. And this is like the top of the well that goes with it. It's kind of... yeah, so it kind of looks like this. Once I glue that in, okay, let me rotate it a little bit more. Yeah. Like I've had friends that say that they look at this miniature and it reminds them of like those older Disney movies that are cel shaded. And that's actually a pretty good description, right? Because it's such a bright, saturated, fantastical palette. And a lot of the highlights that I drawn on are really just like lines. And it almost like glows in the dark. I'm quite proud of this so far. I need to finish it, but that will come after I finish other things. Because my backlog is reproducing. If you leave the means alone long enough, you'll find there were more than you thought there were. And this is also stuff that I was working on. It doesn't seem like fantastical look to it. Super bright, so super saturated. This would be great for if you're running game in the Feywild, like Wall Beyond the Witchlight. This the top looks yellow. Yeah, it's yellow. So I actually highlighted like this piece so that it's yellow and it goes down to purple shading at the bottom. And I took a bit of brown and glazed that up. So if you put that next to the T-Rex, which was using a yellow-green, you can tell that this is a lot more like a true yellow. So it was almost like glowing, almost unreal. But I've not gone into paint like the little parts yet, right? That's where like the most annoying work is gonna be. And that's why I left it in my WIP pile for like forever. So I guess it's all great for like the Witchlight campaign fail. I'm looking forward to playing that after we're done with our Ryan campaign, which we have not started because our DMs have the problem of talking about the games that you want to DM without actually DMing games. It's a very common problem. Cough, cough. If you guys are watching the stream, you know who I'm talking about. And yes, I'm talking about you. It's just like writing, right? You know you're a writer when you spend all of your time talking about thinking about what you want to write instead of actually writing. Exactly. And I'm saying this because I do that stuff all the time. I'm making fun of myself too. Okay, so I kind of want to try and see what it's going to look like when I put some color on the teeth. So I'm gonna get a slightly smaller brush. By smaller, I mean like one size down, so it's not a huge difference. Okay, there we go. So the two brush sizes. And this brush has been well abused, you can tell, by the amount of paint that's still on it. But I'm really gonna be using it for the side of the brush. Let me first get some of this color. This color is called Quick's Bane Base. It's a bit more like a very dark, desaturated, almost olive green. It's not a media people problem, it's a completely normal thing to do because it's really fun to talk about what you want to do, but actually doing it is an annoying part. Look, okay, it happens with cosplayers too. Like, you know, the whole album of things that you want to cosplay, how many of them have you actually cosplayed? Alright, so I'm gonna bring my palette over to the camera so you can take a peek. Right. So this is the really bright yellow green I was using. And this is the Quick's Bane. Which it's a bit hard to tell the exact color. But it's definitely a really nice, really dark color that's great for shading that yellow. And what I'm going to use it for is I'm going to use it to hit the teeth of the dinosaur. Because if it's a zombie T-Rex and it has been eating zombies, there is no way it's going to be perfectly clean. So I wanted a dark greenish color first to be the shadow for that before I start hitting it with like the bright bone that you get the teeth. So I see a tiny support that I missed. No. Oh. Okay, I'll fix that later. Yeah, at least he did some, but you know, that's the thing, right? It's nice, it's more fun to talk about what you plan to do or your ideas for things when you're inspired, but actually doing them is the tiring thing. What is a pumpkaboo? Do I want to know? Oh, Pokemon. Oh, oh, okay. Well, if you were willing to help me find a treatment model, I could print that for you. Like, in fact, we do like some custom 3D printing services for people. and we've had a few orders for people that design their characters in like Hero Forge, Eldritch Foundry, and then they send me the files to print for them. And it's pretty fun because I get to see like what everyone plans for their characters, how they design their characters. But it's also the downside of 3D printing. Once you realize that you can print almost everything, you start printing everything. Like, what's that? Armor files? 3D prints. Guns? 3D prints. Guns with space for LEDs? 3D prints. Alright, I'm liking how that grayish, brownish green turned out. Yeah, you can kind of see in the miniature here, right? Pumpkaboo looks like a Crimson when he tries to give that face. Does it really? I mean, I can vaguely imagine it, but like the description does not make me want to have that Pokemon. Far from it. Right, so in order to try and use colors for small meats, I'm gonna take this greenish brown and put that on the body as well. I'm gonna use that as color that I want to shade the zombies with. I don't know. I feel that rather than getting a miniature of the Pumpkaboo, you should instead dress Crimson out in a pumpkin costume. That sounds like it'd be a lot more entertaining. Just make him wear orange, just his favorite color. Or pink, right? Since that's his like usual name when playing games. Crimson Shiro. If it's red plus white, that's just pink. Makes perfect sense. Oh, that's another sub goal. 500 subs in Crimson will wear a bright orange costume on stream. I'm getting some good stretch goals for the future here, guys. I mean, Crips is not just a mascot, he's also there to like run our D&D writing and DM advice, talk show portion of the stream. I'm just here to shitpost. Crimson looks like a mascot, so like the kind that are a little bit like rounded and fluffy. And make strange noises and actions in front of like supermarkets. Sounds about right. I like those big-headed things. The thing in the set so far is my cute Genshin Impact slimes. Thank you very much. I mean, gone are the days where Crimsons will actually fit into this costume. Which is why the mannequin's wearing it instead. And doing a great job. But yeah, if you guys wanna bully Crimson, I mean, have a chat with Crimson and hear more about his insights about D&D, being a dungeon master, you wanna tune in on Monday as well. We'll be having his next talk show. And if you're not sure what the exact time is, just check out our stream schedule. It's down below in the About Us portion. Hey, Anboshan! Nice to have you join us. Are you liking the mini so far? Is it Anboshan or Anboshan? Honestly, I kind of really like how the base looks. Just like, I just like how there's this little bit of like detail in there, but it's not just the T-Rex, and you know that he's being followed by zombies. He pukes out zombies because of this little detail on the base, and it just elevates the base so much. Spend a little bit of time putting stuff down the center. It's fine. And like this half-eaten, half-bodied zombie really reminds me of, you know, when The Walking Dead first came out and they had that zombie that was chasing the character. And that was so creepy, and that was such a great practical effect to have. Also, bitey boy. Think about it. Yeah, the T-Rex is on the store. It might not be up right now, but it'll be up on there really soon. So I have a T-Rex, and he also has a few friends. There's a version of this miniature that is a normal feathered T-Rex, and he has this really cute fluff around his neck. Give me a second, I'm gonna go over and grab that from my display case. Uno momento. That was a great question because I love showing off my 3 things, and you just giving me the perfect excuse to show them off. Here. So this is the zombie T-Rex that's over in the corner. This is another zombie T-Rex. This is what he looks like before you get paint on him. You can see there's a bit of a line here, but it's super easy to fix. So this is what it will look like when it arrives at your doorstep. It's just that this zombie here and this hand and the zombies on the base won't be added. Like, you notice that the one I'm painting has an extra zombie on the base because I printed one more extra zombie. But this is what it looks like with no paint at all. And before I've cleaned out like the base. Lovely detail. And just in case you don't like your T-Rexes undead, I also have another version where it's him, but fluffy. Look at him, so fluffy. Just fluffy feathers. And he's just going rawr. T-Rex and friend. It's not the same image. So these T-Rexes are going to be up in the store. You will notice that I have a few other dinosaurs in there, like the Allosaurus, which is another of my favorites. And I think in fact I just sent out a copy of the Allosaurus to his new home in New Zealand. I'm sure he's gonna really enjoy it there. Great place, minus the hobbits. I'm gonna put my zombie T-Rexes right in front of me. And if you look at some of the other stuff, I have my stores. Also this like, frost giant, frost giantess. And this is the version that comes with the crown. It's really pretty. And this one comes printed as like one piece, so she comes with the base as well. And it's really solid. Like I've dropped this a few times. Chultan has dropped it more times than I can now want to think about. And it has survived being dropped, which means that it's solid. If anything is Jazion proof, it can survive most tables. Except maybe a really dedicated dog or cat. So yeah, thanks for that. If you want, I can drop you a link later on with the exact T-Rex that I'm painting on the stream. Make sure that it's listed. We already have a dog in the office, and he is dangerous. To himself, mostly, but dangerous. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do, I'll just quickly do, just to buff out some colors, is to get some off-whites and whites to work on the bones and the teeth. Right after I'm done digging through my box of paints for the right colors. So the colors I'm gonna use for this is mainly two colors. One's Moon of White base, Moon of White highlight. So the Moon of White base is a bit of a beige color, a bit yellowy with a slight greenish tinge, and the Moon of White highlight is a great yellowish off-white color. And I use that instead of white most of the time, because when you're painting in miniature, you don't want to use white to start with in most cases. You only want to use white on the brightest points of the miniature. Or if you're underpainting something and painting white over that. Because white is such a bright color compared to everything else that it's going to draw all the eye to whatever spot you have painted white. So if you're going to use white, that's only for like certain points on the miniature. Or if you're painting like around the face. Or whichever spot you want to be the focal. So a bit of that off-white right now. I'm just going to try blocking out the color on the ribs. or two. And it looks terrible right now. It's just that one line of bright color. But don't worry, it's gonna look worse later. I mean, it will look worse before it looks better. This is just a part of miniature where you have to work through it. So you notice that when I'm painting, I'm holding the miniature and I'm bracing my fingers against it so that my shaky hands aren't as bad. That's another tip that newbies should know. That you can get better at controlling your brush through practice, but a lot of that is having the right technique for holding the brush. I mean, either way, if you guys have any specific questions about painting techniques or things that I've painted, feel free to ask. I'm also happy to talk 3D printing. And I can talk D&D as well, but I'm so lazy. As a dungeon master, I'm the kind of person that rarely shows up to run a game. So most of my friends complain that I don't run often enough. Water alcohol to do washing? You mean for washing 3D prints? Or do you mean for like washing the technique for painting? Alright, so for painting, washing is the name of a process, right? It basically means that you take a paint that is thinned down until it's translucent, and then you spread it over the miniature. And the pigment, the color, collects in the cracks of the miniature so that it ends up darkening the cracks and adding shadowing to it. You can use that with just water. You can use enamel paints or oil paints to do that. And it just really varies depending on the kind of exact technique that you want to use for that. But most of the time I use just water. I might, if I'm mixing with a paint and I want a more even application, because the issue with water sometimes is that it beats up on the surface of the miniature. It doesn't thin down very well sometimes. If that's the case, then you will want to add maybe some medium into there or flow improver to break that surface tension so it flows over the miniature and into the cracks. But to be honest, like for specialized products, I already use them for washes. Let's try a little bit of color on this. Just highlights. Like, in fact, unless you're painting only tabletop quality level stuff, I don't really recommend washes. Because sometimes cleaning up the wash can take more time than just painting in your shadows. Sometimes I've used contrast paints for that before. I've just painted like contrast paints over the miniature and then taken another brush to remove parts of the paint that I didn't want to see. So notice right now we are painting up things. I'm using the starter brush and just doing this. Uh, you don't need to really tap dry your bottle bubbles unless you have put too much of a wash. Too much water over the surface already. And most of the time, all you need to do is actually just wash your brush off, then dry it off in a paper towel like we do, and then just touch that area. Okay, getting some nice shiny tea from that. Main time I use washes is when I'm painting the raid. And that's because sometimes what I do is I underpaint with very bright, very saturated colors. And then I'll use a wash over the top to bring that all down all at once. And in the case of using a wash like that across everything that I work with, that's when I normally use an oil wash. Using oil paint. And that oil paint is normally thinned down with mineral spirits or white artist spirits. It's all basically the same stuff. It's just it dissolves the medium, the oil, in different ways. Right, quick peek. Look at these boys' teeth. Creative thieves. So one example that you might use a wash for right now, as I see this bone right now, right? It's really bright, and you might think that it looks very jarring. So for a lot of people, this part of the process, they would take maybe a round wash and cover everything. But in this case, what I'm going to do is take a little bit of that green and going over the edge of this, and just kind of just adding in a darker color on the sides first. And that's already helping, you see. It's changing the shape of the white so it doesn't look like it's a painted line. And the process is a lot faster than, say, just doing a wash. Once you have the brush control for that, I find that washes do tend to be less required, unless you know exactly why you're using a wash. And one other time I use a lot of washes is when painting metallic paints, because if you're not mixing your paints into the metallic color or using a lot of different metal colors, doing a black wash or a brown wash is a fast way to shade the metals, and that's fine. So I'm going back a little bit more of that off-white color and blending that with this, so get a little more of a blended tone. And this is what we call wet blending, which isn't some super arcane or difficult technique. It's really just not being afraid to put paints on there and go back and forth until you get a result that you like. Hello, 18 Smoke. Thanks for following our stream. Say hi in chat. Please introduce yourself. Yeah, okay, see? I did a little bit of shading on there. And you can kind of tell that before where it was just like one white chunk, it's a little bit more. It's a bit bright from here, but it's a bit more shading right now, see? Okay, yeah, there we go. And later on, I'm gonna take a picture of this miniature and post it on our social media. So if you have us liked on Facebook. Look out there. Neo Tokyo Project. Though, of course, I think it's also very important to say that I am just as new at this as many other people out there. And that's just my preferred way of doing things. If you prefer working with washers, and that's a very important part of your process, then by all means continue. It's just that don't feel like you have to keep using the technique of washers because that's the way you've been taught to paint by maybe an online tutorial, etc. etc. Every technique has its own place, and a big part of painting is figuring out what your favorite technique is and where you want to use that. This is a very interesting song. Much saxophone. Wait, forgot to paint a T-Rex tongue. Let's just have a little bit of the other colors on my brush, and I'm not really caring about it. And that's not that bad. Yeah, it's definitely trial and error. Like some of the most celebrated painters will tell you that even for their contest winning pieces, it's all about learning how to fudge their paint. They kind of go, hey, I'm just gonna paint a highlight in here. And then go, why doesn't it look right? And they repaint the highlight and move it around until it looks right to them. Like the biggest difference between a piece that's painted to a display standard, right? That's gonna be like winning awards and being used as box art for miniature is the amount of time you spend on there. So for me, I tend to use a lot of quicker techniques to save myself time and to get more contrast on a piece. And that's not gonna look as good as someone that's gonna spend hours just layering up with different colors, not the different color nuances that you see in there. But that's alright. Like too often we just see like what people post on social media and go, I can't paint as well as that, but hey, for a mini that's like 28 mm, just a classic heroic character, that person spent 8 hours. Like past a certain standard, you need to be spending that much time to get that kind of result. And the question is, are you willing to spend that much time? Okay, so I'm just roughly painting some super bright colors on there. And I'm going from where the light falls downwards, so I'm always going in the direction of the light. So that when I apply paint like this, I'm hitting all the outstanding edges that will be lit. And that's a highlighted zombie. Am I gonna do more highlights on him? Yeah, for sure. And something like this is when I'll definitely use a wash technique. Because I don't want to go in and fix everything bit by bit. kind of like looking right now. He's bright. I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit. With this character, with this character, how fast characters need to run? They only need to run faster than the dwarf in the party. See? You don't have to run fast, just faster than the slowest party member. This looks so bright. I mean, it's fine, like the T-Rex can just get distracted by eating up all the zombies that is puking. Allow your party members, and that's even better. I'm not saying you should kill your party members, but you know, some party members are better off as T-Rex sacrifices and they are being alive. They indeed have reached too. Hi, John. Glad you could join us. A long time no see. Okay. I just want to go in and highlight this point. Like, with COVID, I don't think I've seen you in the past 2 years. I mean, other than chatting online, but even so. But believe it or not, it's almost been 2 hours. And the stream is gonna go for maybe like 20 more minutes. So if you have questions for me, and ask them now, forever hold your peace. Or you can ask Crimson during his stream on Monday. Especially if he can't answer them, because that'd be fun to watch. Oh, I think we should ask Crimson about painting. Like, ask him to describe paint colors. Always fun. Alright, so I had a little bit of red on my brush right now. And it's thinned down quite a bit. So I'm gonna kind of put that onto the zombies on the ground. Like a wash. And it's a very selective area. So you can kind of see some around the mouth. And a little bit in the chest. But I think I need a little bit more red paint. And in fact, I'm gonna go slightly brighter. Instead of using a darker color, I'll use a lighter, almost pinkish color, sanguine highlights. Yeah, ask him all the weird questions. That's what the stream is for. He says ask me anything, right? So ask him anything. A good part of watching a fan stream is trolling them with questions. So like right now, I put a lot of weight on that. It's a bit much, so I'm gonna spread it across the miniature and ignore the parts that got on the ground around it, because that's fine. It's not pink. Make a zombie look a lot more healthy. And then I'm gonna wash off my brush and go back and take that off. You don't need a cotton bud for this. In fact, sometimes I don't use a cotton bud or a kitchen towel because it leaves fibers behind on the miniature. And that can be very annoying. There you go. You see the difference between the one that's been washed and the one that isn't? When I'm going to publish my D&D adventure, do I have to? Don't wanna. Writing is hard. I'm new to D&D, guys. No way. I mean, he already has one that's in the works right now. In fact, it's like mostly finished and he's been doing author-only runs for those that want to play it. And from what I've seen, it's quite an amusing adventure. If you don't do well, it's a bit of a catastrophe, but that's why it's fun. Yeah, I'll just blame the zombie T-Rex for eating up your grandma. Alright, so take a peek. After a little bit of cleaning, he looks quite a bit more bloody than he was earlier. And what I'm gonna do later on is that I'm gonna pick out the eyes of the zombie T-Rex and the eyes of the zombies with the same color. So it'll be a nice glow effect on there. But that's like later, like, you know, far in the future. Maybe in the next stream. If it happens. Streaming is difficult. Yeah, the mobile chat delay is real. You see me looking at this? Alright. That's a good angle. The zombie is doing their best at swimming in dirt. They're not the smartest zombies, but they're trying their best. And that's alright. Because we're all trying our best. Predator X-ray kind of coloring to like a heat map, I guess. with like the blues and oranges and I think blue orange to white, right? That would actually be really interesting. Maybe, yeah. Because like with the way I'm painting, I'm not really caring so much about whether something is like bright or dark. It's just adding colors that are interesting. And that would be pretty cool to see. Ain't nobody has time to start on another MMO. I say as I play New World. Yeah, I quite like how the zombies are looking. They are zombie enough. Let me go back and highlight his cute little toenail. So one thing about the toenail is that if it's glossy, one thing about things that are glossy is that they have really sharp, very bright highlights. And they're normally like along a nice line or shape. So in this case, I'm just gonna do this. From one side. And just by layering it on a little bit. I'll highlight up later. And the lights will be coming from this direction, but I think it should be on lights on this side. Yeah, all you guys playing MMOs. How do you find the time, man? It's fun when I paint this log as well, because I'll be able to talk a little bit more about my methods for painting wood, and then I can actually show how I use a wash for that. But not right now. Let me look over our teeth again. Let's see if I miss any spots. Any like bone spurs. Ah, okay. Found it. Teeny tiny little. Yeah, both. Look at this tiny little dew claw, which is so easy to miss. So I need to think about how the light's gonna fall, and it's gonna hit this way and go this way. So I guess I'll paint it this way. Yep. The green to match the edges. The zombie T-Rex will not have rainbow nails. Not because I don't like rainbows, but because he's already very colorful. And with rainbow nails, it's going to be a little too colorful for me. Now, on the other hand, if you wanted like a... what would be fun to paint in rainbow colors? And some rainbow heat map creature. Maybe a spider? Spiders are fun to paint. And they're actually super colorful. I like spiders. I mean, with my eternal backlog of stuff, I'm not gonna run out of things to paint anytime soon, so if there's something that you want to see me paint on stream, then let me know. Or hey, there's something that you want to see on my store that I can paint and stream and maybe give away in the future, then let me know as well. Because people have been asking me to give away painted stuff. I'm just not sure what I should give away and what I should paint. A house. Okay, maybe a house is a little bit big. And no, HB flats here are really expensive. Maybe... I guess house terrain does make sense. Maybe you should ask people on Crimson Stream like what Dungeon Masters want to see me give away that they don't have to paint themselves. Like, face spiders are really fun though. I like face spiders. A little bit messy right now. I'm not quite happy with how sharp the highlight has become. So I need to take a little bit of green and brush it down. Just blend that edge a little bit. Paint the cows on the table. The cows are already painted, they're just not based. They lack a cow base, a home base. A place to go when they're done with moving around. And we can't do anything because the cows aren't coming home. The cow needs to come in and paint things. Yeah, this is where we stop for today. I say, I'm like, wait, well, just one more bit. Just a little bit more. Oh, and this spot I need to fix. Okay, just a little bit more. Just one more layer. And that is how I end up painting until midnight and not realizing that the rush for the last one. I don't stop here, I'm not gonna stop painting. So I'm just gonna stop here for today. And it has been duly noted that the next thing that I should be painting is owls or a face spider or something like that, so I'll take a look through my collections and see what I can do. In the meantime, I just wash off my brush, because you should always wash off your brush between every time you put down a brush or change colors. And do not abuse your brushes the same way I do. Brush care is important, children. Number 1 tip to noobs. Do not abuse your brush. Or if you abuse your brush, clean your brush. Aftercare is important. List 20 and roll a d20. It's actually a really good idea. And next time I'll get people to give me 20 ideas on the stream, and then I'll go d20 for that. But first of all, thanks everyone for coming by. It was really nice having you here. And if you are looking for my next part of the stream, it'll be next weekend, next Saturday, same time, same place. But don't forget that we do have some upcoming content as well. Crimson has his stream on Monday. And that's a good place to go if you want to pester him about D&D writing for Dungeon Craft and being one of the most prolific published writers in Singapore. And this is Charlotte, over and out, guys. See you! Well, I'm glad that 2 hours of her life was fast and not slow and sad.